I'm joined this morning by two fantastic educators and leaders, Becky Keene and Kathi Kersznowski. Good morning, ladies.
Morning.
Good morning.
They are the authors of a great book called Sail the Seven Seas with Microsoft Education. We've got it here, and we're going to get into that and so much more. But first of all, would you introduce yourselves? Tell us a little bit more about your current context in education, starting with you, Kathi.
Well, hello, I'm Kathi Kersznowski. I'm over here in New Jersey, and I work for a public school system during the day. So that's my day job. And I'm a tech coach. I'm a technology integration specialist. So I teach teachers. I love what I do. I get to teach them ways to integrate technology in really meaningful, purposeful ways into the instruction that they do. And because I get to do that, I sort of am indirectly teaching all the kids in our district, right? And I just love doing that. Then on the side, I own an LLC called Integration Innovation, and I do some side work there as a consultant, a speaker, a workshop provider. I also, as she'll tell you probably in just a minute, I work for Becky. So Becky is my boss at a company called I2E. And so for that, I do the same thing. I teach teachers as part of that. I'm a professional development specialist for that company too. And we're a Microsoft training partner. So we specialize in teaching people about the awesome world of Microsoft.
That is a very full plate, Kathi. Thank you so much. And Becky, tell us about your context.
Hey, so my background is elementary and middle school teaching and instructional coaching. I worked for Washington State District, south of Seattle for 15 years. And as Kathi mentioned, for the past 5 years, I've moved into the support space where I get to help school systems around the United States, sometimes internationally, implement best practices with technology, whether that's through professional learning engagements or through content, curriculum, strategic planning, whatever the case may be, in my role as director at I2E, which is an education consultancy company and a Microsoft global training partner. I've been a part of the MIE Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert community for a long time, closing in on around 10 years. And that's what has kind of introduced me to education on a global stage. And that has been an honor and an absolute privilege.
Thank you so much, Becky. Really appreciate you being here as well. And you both mentioned Microsoft. I know we're going to talk more Microsoft here as we go. It was funny as we got ready for this conversation that I asked you for your email addresses, and both of you were like, no, that's not happening. So if nothing else, you are definitely loyal to the brand. Appreciate that. Well, we're coming up on 1 year since the release of your book, Sail the Seven Seas with Microsoft Education. Tell us a little bit about what that journey was like. Yeah, there it is. Tell us a little bit about the journey and, of course, what the learning has been like since the release of the book. So, Becky, I'll go back to you on that one.
Sure. How about I'll start with the journey?
Sure.
It really was a fun journey. It's something that I've kind of always had in the back of my mind to possibly write a book, and the opportunity came along to do that and to work with a co-author. Kathi and I had met at BET, #MEtAtBET, 2019, although we'd been in the same, social space as a PLN for years. And then this idea came along to write a book, and we reconnected at ISTE 2019. And we committed. And what was amazing about the process is that Kathi and I kind of went away, signed a contract. And then when we went to meet with the publisher, the first meeting, the whole point of the first meeting was for us to bring our ideas to the table. And when Kathi and I met, without having talked about it together, we both had the idea to work in the 4, 5, 6, or 7 C's. We both wanted to highlight educators from all over the world who were a part of our network, who we knew were doing best practices in education. So it was this kind of magical moment where we realized not only did we get to work together, we were completely aligned on a lot of our goals and vision. So that was a very exciting moment for us to realize we were absolutely headed in the same direction.
Kathi, what about you? What was that journey like, and where has the last year taken you? Where's your learning gone since then?
Oh my goodness, so much fun. Yeah, Becky just told that story beautifully. I remember I was on vacation. I was sitting in a cabin in Maine, hoping I even had Wi-Fi to connect with Becky. And we both kind of just started to talk about, hey, what do you think for this book? And we said, we don't want this to be a how-to manual. Like the day we write it, they'll make changes over it and things will change. It's got to be about pedagogy and it's got to be about people. And so we both said that. And then I remember Becky said something like, I was thinking maybe we could do something around a framework. And I was like, yes, I was thinking the 4 C's. And she says, I was thinking the 4 C's. It was just, it was magical how it all came together. So what we did in the end is we created a book that's timeless, right? Because the C's are never going away. The people whose stories we tell in the book are timeless. It's good teaching. So it can apply to Microsoft things. But as I've been telling some of my Google friends, you can do a lot of these same things with Google products or their products you're using anyway, right? Like even the strictest Googleites are using Minecraft or they use Microsoft Word. So there's just a lot of good ideas and great pedagogy throughout the book. And it was fun to highlight that.
I love what you just said about not making it a how-to manual, because when I see these books on the shelves, I mean, my cynical side, I just sort of shake my head and say that, just as you said, I mean, that's going to be outdated in 6 months, 12 months. So focusing a little more on principles, I think, makes a lot of sense. Still talking about some of the opportunities and the ideas, but not getting too step by step, because again, those things change so quickly. Well, for those who are wondering, what are the 7 C's? You know, I was just listening to Chris Nesi on my podcast Commute this week, and he was talking about the 4 C's and the 5 C's. I like to add curiosity to that, but I know you've got your own 7 C's, and we will get there, listener and viewer. We will get there to the 7 C's, but the subtitle of this wonderful book is all about stories. And I thought stories are so powerful. So let's get into stories a little bit. Could you share one story of learning with us that either inspired your writing or has inspired you since the release of the book? And this could be something in, someone else's practice or perhaps right in yours. So Kathi, I'll go back to you on this one. Have you got a story of learning that was truly transformative that you could share with us?
Oh, you know what? This book is full of stories. So it's just a bunch of vignettes, and it's kind of a pleasure to read because of that. It's one story after another, and it's from educators all over the world. We have people from 6 continents represented in here, and we did that on purpose. We really wanted to show that good practices are global, and so that great teaching is great teaching no matter where you are in the world. So to pick one from I don't know, I think we have like 60 stories or something in this book. To pick one is hard, but one that just pops in my mind because he's a good friend of mine is Lanny Watkins is a great educator from Wales, and he started something in his school called a Skype club, and he started it not intentionally, as most good ideas that we all come up with, right? It's because you see a little need and you try something and it works, and then you add to it, and that's what he did. He knew about Skype in the classroom. He knew about the power of connecting globally. It's probably my favorite thing in education is to get kids connected globally. He wanted to bring this to his school. Teachers weren't too into coming to the PD. Admin wasn't quite so on board. So he decided to start a Skype club. And he tells this story in the book so beautiful, better than I can. But he decided to start a Skype club with kids. So guess what? He gave up his lunchtime and he gave up his prep time or whatever. And he would literally schedule guest speakers or great opportunities for kids. I remember he talked about one where he took them to an elephant sanctuary. And kids would come to his room at lunch and they would sit in. They were the Skype club. And guess what? Excited kids are all the fuel you need to make something fired up, right? Kids are going out through the school and they're telling admins and their teachers, oh my gosh, I pet an elephant today. They went up to the board and they were petting the elephant's trunk. It was just kind of magical that he did this. And the kids spread that fire throughout the school. Next thing you knew, he had interested teachers who wanted to learn how they could do this, and interested admins who wanted to make sure this was happening in classrooms throughout the school. So it was just one of that's inspiring. That's something that inspires me.
I see a comment here from Mark Ryan who says, Skype, I remember those days. Mark, Skype still is a thing, right? Kathy, it's still used widely within the Microsoft environment, or qualify that for me.
Oh yeah, and Becky can help if I misspeak here, but Skype in the Classroom was a program that was around, and it's been sunsetted a little bit. It's been migrated over into Flipgrid. So Flipgrid has kind of taken that over, and it's more about asynchronous communication. For synchronous communication, all of us Microsofties now, we use Teams, because you can do all those same things with Teams and connect with people all over the world, as we've learned a lot in the past year. So Skype in the Classroom it's got a new face, but yes, we still are connecting, just using different ways to do it.
All right. Well, that is good to know. I was on the Wired Educator podcast, and I know our friend, why is his name escaping me? That's weird. Anyway, he still loves Skype, and I know he's very faithful to that brand and to that suite. Becky, have you got a story of learning that you could share with us? I know, as Kathy said, there are so many to choose from, but thinking about ways that learning has transformed the possibilities for students. Have you got something you could share?
Oh, absolutely. So one of my go-to stories from the book is from Lee Whitmarsh, who is currently in Australia, but at the time was teaching in England. And he did something pretty amazing with his students where they interviewed members of their community. Well, okay, let me back up just a hair. His community decided, and I don't even know how this happens, but as a community, they decided to be dementia friendly. And that was a commitment that the community made to people who are struggling with dementia and their families. And so the students ended up interviewing people, partners, family members who struggle around dementia, and creating these Sway stories. And they use Microsoft Sway to do it. So just a very simple tool that allows you to publish this basically public website with just some drag and drop and no design elements needed. But the beauty of Sway is that the kids were scanning in photos. The families were bringing in these huge boxes of pictures, and they were interacting with people in a way that allowed them to embed media. So asking questions about, what song was played at your wedding, or what movie did you go watch as a teenager that, impressed you? And many of the people who they interviewed could remember, pieces of life up into their, present time. And as they went through this process, they found that some of those families were remembering more and more, because the research around dementia, and I am not an expert in that space at all, but my understanding is the research around that is that the more senses, the more sensory input we can include to work with someone with dementia, the more that triggers memories. And so because they were not just interviewing someone and like typing it up, because they were using this full media experience, some of those people who struggle with dementia were starting to remember moments. And Lee tells a story, of a time where a student was interviewing someone with dementia, and the person turned to their partner and said, "Oh, you were there," and it's like tears coming down. And then in addition to this amazing work where the students helped create these Sway stories, they also taught the family members how to use and update the Sway. So now they have this living memory capsule I saw posted in the chat there, of this beautiful personal history that is captured. And they went on to make that a community-wide endeavor where they posted these Sway stories, and then other people were coming in and saying, I want to, publish my story. And that, I think, has reminded me, has taught me, has inspired me to think about the work that our students are doing as a part of a society. Like, not that they're going to go, I'm a pretty outspoken anti, worksheet busy work girl for my entire 20 years career. And to do something impactful like that still is meeting tons of writing and research standards, and we can check a lot of boxes, but is doing something real, those kids are going to go forward and want to change the world, and have a way to do it. So I love that.
Awesome. Well, that was another mic drop moment. And I was thinking the same thing, that both of your stories, both of your examples connect around people and relationships. And that just makes so much sense, that the most valuable learning we can connect our students with has to do with relationships and other human beings. I was thinking about everything Kathi described with Skype, and Kathi, I'm not sure if you mentioned mystery Skype. That's something I've heard about for the last year or two, and have never really tried, but I still want to try that. And then Microsoft Sway, I'm already learning. See, I'm learning new tools in the Microsoft environment here, so this is very good for me as someone who admittedly spends a lot more time on the Google side. But we will come back to Microsoft in a moment, but we've kept our viewers and listeners in suspense long enough. Let's talk about the 7 C's. What are they, and which C has been energizing you the most in recent weeks? So, Becky, I'll go back to you for the 7 C's. Give us the list, and I don't know if you've been able to memorize it, but let's talk about. There it is, and then let's.
I was going to say we should have had a graphic ready. We have one. It's beautiful. Yeah, Kathi, right before we published, actually, like right before we locked the draft, Kathi was like, "Wait a minute. We need a page. We need a page that just shows the 7 C's." So we did. So the designer was gracious and backed it up a little and made us a page. But it's basically community, which Tim, you just pointed out, has been a big part of our conversation here, because community is so valuable to us as humans. And then we have collaboration, communication, critical thinking, computational thinking. We did split those up, but they're one chapter. Creators, and change makers. So those are our 7. Now we know about the 4 core C's, and we can kind of nest computational thinking under critical thinking for a lot of purposes. So we basically took those and added community, which again, was very important to us and aligns with many school systems use citizenship or character. And that, really well aligns there. And then change making, because we felt there needed to be a call to action, which goes back to both of our stories. What are you doing to help students be change makers in the world, to help kids, move their passions forward? So those are our 7. And I think there was a question too about, can you put it back?
Sure. Yeah. Which of those C's is one that is really capturing your attention right now? I know they're all wonderful, but is there one that you could speak on for a moment?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. So I forgot. I was totally prepared with that answer. Right now, I need to go with creation, or creators, or creativity. And the reason is this. We are coming out of a time, I want to say we're coming out of a time where a lot of kids are working independently, for many reasons. They might not even be engaged with their school system right now, which is really unfortunate. And some of the frustration I'm seeing from teachers, which is valid and completely understandable, is that their students are not, they're not completing their work. They're not logging in. They're not coming off camera, which is a whole separate conversation. We're not going to rabbit hole there. They're not engaged with their school system. And I would say this, if I was back in a classroom and I was giving kids, problems 1 through 50, I shouldn't be surprised that they're not engaged with that. So I think if we turned it around a little, I just replied to a teacher on Facebook last night who had a lovely quiz about circuitry for their science class. And their question was, how do I put this best into Canvas, LMS? And I tend to go a little rogue on these things. And I just responded by saying, what if those kids built those circuits in Minecraft and showed you how they understand that circuits work in an environment that's a reality and gives them some creativity? These kids could build a hydroelectric dam, and we're giving them a paper pencil quiz we're trying to convert into an automated graded quiz. So what if they could create something? And better yet, something that has value. What are the circuits in your home? How could you improve that? There's so many possibilities here. And when kids are creators, they tend to be more interested because there's more value, they're more engaged, they have something that they can show for their work. I'll have to stop because I could just soapbox on this. But I think we really need to consider, especially right now, where by no fault of their own, some kids can't be active in a community. Some of them, are just struggling to still get a device and get internet and all the other issues that are happening. So to allow them to be creators, I think would go a long way.
I just finished Block Breaker last week by your friend Brian Aspinall. Yeah, and you are, of course, talking his language, as we all know. He's a huge Minecraft supporter as well, and he would say much the same. Becky, I'm sure he would have the same answer. So there's a case for creativity. Not that we're putting one above the other here, but that's something that's been on your mind recently.
Yes.
Kathy, when you look at that list, that awesome list of 7 C's, what's one that you've been thinking about?
I had more time than Becky to just think about this question, but it's been, honestly, lately it's been change makers, and that's just such a powerful chapter and such a powerful way to end our book, and just a powerful, I don't know, all around thing for kids. And I think that what Becky said is, it's PBL, right? Give kids a chance to do instead of just sit and get, right? So I think it's a change in thinking, and change makers is exactly that. It's PBL. It's giving kids a chance to do good for the world, do something. And we, at one of my schools, so I serve 7 elementary schools, and at one of them there's a green club, and it's taught by 2. It's an after-school club. It's been taught virtually for part of this year. I mean, they've made it work, and I'm like an ad hoc member. They when they go on field trips, they invite me. I'm like their tech liaison to this green club, and these teachers are just wonderful, and they really do let the students have voice. So the students dictate what they want to do. And recently, they decided they were really worried about endangered animals. They've been learning, some animals have become extinct and things like this. And so they decided to pick one and focus on it. And right now they're very focused on the Humboldt penguins because they're endangered. And these kids are researching them on their own time. They really care about the Humboldt penguins. They've written away and they've learned things, and they've networked and they've connected with others who are worried about them too. And so recently they used Microsoft Forms. They came up with a set of, I'll say questions, but it was really check boxes of which of these things would you be willing to commit to doing to save the Humboldt penguins. And because they had researched it so much, they had about 8 different things, like no drinking straws, use less plastic, and use a bunch of great ideas. So anyway, they had a list that they came up with. They made a Microsoft form and they sent it out all through the community, and they had me retweet it. Like it's gone global. And I've had friends from other countries tell me, not only did I fill it out, but I'm committed to following through on those things that I checked. Like I'm much more aware of my use of plastics and things like that. So that's been pretty impactful. And then they also followed that up with Flipgrid, and they've had people come back onto this Flipgrid and share their stories about how they're thinking differently, or how they weren't aware of Humboldt penguins, and that adults and other students have now learned about it because our students are raising awareness. So I love that. And then just last night I shared a non-Minecraft or a non-Microsoft app with them, but found out a new app called Literati. Yeah, Litterati. And it's literally an app that the teachers can get on their phone. And for $99 a year, you kind of can run it for a year and kind of host your own club or group or whatever, but you share your join code with anybody who wants to, and they can go on there, and you just you take pictures of litter, and then you pick it up and you put it somewhere, and it like geotabs it, and it keeps track of how many pieces of litter anybody in your club or group has helped to clean up. And to do that for an entire year with this club, that's a change maker thing, and kids will really see the impact of that. So this change making has been on my mind lately.
I love both those examples. The Literati I heard about on a podcast some time ago, and that gets me excited. The competitive side of me, Kathy, wants to know, can you see your school's progress in relation to other schools? Can you make it a little bit competitive that way?
Are there bar graphs? We want kids to analyze data.
I don't know, because I haven't gotten the app yet. I shared it with the teachers, and I said, do you guys think that you would be able to fundraise or somehow come up with $99 to get this going? Can we get a grant? Can we get a some kind of a thing? And I'll chip in if you can't. So we're at that point. We're just still investigating how we're even going to get this and get it started. So I don't know as much as I should about it yet, but I will next time we talk, I promise.
No worries at all. Well, that sounds like fun. It's another reminder for me to go back and take a look at Literati. I want to welcome those in the live audience. Nobler Tech Class is here. Helen, excuse me. My friend Helen Rivera is here as I get something. Okay, it's hopeless.
Where's your water?
I know. Wow, that is a lesson. Okay, as I die here. All right, moving on. If I can, I'm gonna have to seriously get a drink. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was trying to say hi to all our friends in the live audience, but I will stop that. Question number 5, what is one application that is really getting you excited about new possibilities for learning in Microsoft Education right now? So my voice sounds terrible, but Becky, take it away as I go get a glass of water.
Good. Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay. This is so okay. I'm just going to go there. I'm going to say Teams. And I feel like it's a little cliche, but hopefully people will stick with me and I can explain a little bit here. So here's the thing. We all know that there's some improvements to be made and the team is working really hard on some of the video stuff, right? But if you want an all-in-one experience, Teams is kind of it. And there's so many things we can do with Teams that teachers who are new to Teams or, are struggling with the transition and they're used to Zoom or they're used to Google Classroom or whatever. It's a tough transition. I always make the analogy, it's like learning a new kitchen appliance. You have to have a reason and a recipe to get started. But the thing is, there are so many apps and so many tools and so many accessibility options that allow kids to get to the content they need. There's the video conferencing component, but there's also the assignment component and the asynchronous connection component and the pinned tabs and persistent chat, which is huge. And, being able to connect. I know my own children, I have 2 children at home, and they have used Teams consistently for the past 15 months to stay connected with kids in their school system safely, securely, inside that little bubble that they don't get to see face-to-face anymore. And they chat with their teachers and ask them questions, and they've even, made little teams and they jump on together and work on their homework together like they would sitting side by side, in the cafeteria or wherever. And so the fact that it's kind of the whole package and it has all these integrations where I can pull in my Wakelet and pull in my Buncee and pull in my Kahoot and pull in my, right? And it's this one place where parents can go instead of constantly linking out and feeling like I need to remember everything is everywhere. That really simplifies life for a lot of people. So I'm really excited on where it's going because the team knows it wasn't originally built for education. They've been listening to educators and adding like crazy features that teachers are asking for very quickly, layering those things on. And there is no perfect platform. So I would rather land on one that does the most for me and really gives my kids one place to go for everything. So yeah, I'm going to stick with Teams, even though there's a laundry list. That's probably what I would go with right now.
For sure. And Helen says, my husband uses Teams for work and he agrees it's amazing. And I'm in the same position. My wife lives in the Microsoft suite at her work and she has nothing but good things to say. And one of the things I keep hearing about the Teams application is that the integration is so tight.
Yeah.
Right? You can launch these different apps and programs from within that one environment. And that is something that to all my Google friends out there, I'm not sure that we have anything similar. Google Meet certainly doesn't seem to have that kind of power, and that's the best tool that I can think of to compare it with. Kathi, over to you. When you think about a great Microsoft app that is getting you excited right now, what comes to mind?
I love Becky's answer because Becky, Teams holds everything, right? You can do all of the other Microsoft applications within Teams. So it's a powerhouse. It's really awesome. I'm going to go with Minecraft. I'm going to go with Minecraft because it's not just a game, right? It's a learning platform. And Minecraft, everybody pretty much has a sense of how that's used to build, but Minecraft for education is really powerful. We've got to meet kids where they are, right? We can't keep doing things the way we've done them forever. And so look at Becky's example earlier. She says, let's throw out assessment as we knew it, and let's use Minecraft in this way. Why? Kids love it. They're going to show up for class. If you tell them you're doing Minecraft and you're going to learn about circuits, or you're going to learn about volcanoes, or you're going to learn about electric dams, but you're going to build it together in Minecraft with your class, and everybody's going to have tasks, and you're going to have to do all of the other 7 C's while using Minecraft. Think about that. It definitely is community-based, right? You can all work in a Minecraft together. You've got to collaborate, and to do that, you've got to communicate. There's 3 C's right there. You're going to create. Yeah, Minecraft's all about that. So you're creating. You're thinking critically because Minecraft for Education has a whole bunch of things already prepared, lessons already prepared, where you're solving problems and you're working together to do that. And so, yeah, there's critical thinking and there's computational thinking. And as your friend Brian Aspinall has told you, and probably others, that you can do coding. You can do coding. You write code in Minecraft for Education, which is amazing. And so computational thinking's in there too. And yeah, are we being change makers? All the time. There are tons of lessons that encourage students to use Minecraft to think about, learn about, and then solve real world problems by building worlds in Minecraft. So it is a game changer.
I am so excited to bring up Minecraft to my learners. They are living in a Chromebook environment, but we finally sort of figured out how to get that. I think it's a Google Play Store app to allow students to use Microsoft Education in the cloud. So we're just in the stages of piloting that. And I've actually got one of my students sort of exploring what is possible within that. So very, very excited to put that to use. Well, as we start to wrap up, ladies, tell us about what is next for you. Is there a project you're currently working on? Is there another book in the works? What is coming up next for you that you are really excited about? Kathi, I'll go back to you on this one.
You know what I've been dabbling in lately, and this is, again, it's coming out of a need, and it's, I do professional development, and a lot of what I do is offering teachers, hey, I'm going to be running this little workshop after school or whatever, and teachers have had a tough year. Everybody's had a tough year. And so to think about, oh, I've got to hop on one more Teams meeting, or I've got it, whatever, I'm looking at mixing that up and making it fresh and fun again, right? So I think of my friend Lanny with his Skype story. He did this, and teachers who are using Minecraft to engage. I've got to come up with new ways to engage my teachers and make it fun for them to learn. So I've been reaching out and sort of self-educating a little bit, ways to make it more inviting and more fun. And I found some fun virtual spaces for that. So Teams, they do love Teams Together mode. I don't know if you've seen that or not yet, but Teams Together mode isn't all about those little boxes like the Brady Bunch, right? So Teams Together mode shows a variety of different scenes now. So you could be sitting in an auditorium, or sort of like in a Grecian amphitheater, or under the sea is one of our favorites. So that's been kind of fun. They do like to meet there, but I just started a Wakelet collection of other free or very, very cheap virtual meeting spaces that are easy to use. So I've been dabbling with one a lot lately called Kumo Space. And so I invite people into this virtual space, and they're literally like, they come into this room and we're together on a rooftop bar. And I say, come to the back, come meet me in the pool. And, so people are hanging out with me virtually in a pool, and then I can screen share. And it's so much more casual and fun and inviting. There are several others I've checked out, and I can share this Wakelet later. I'll tweet it out later today, but I've been working on building this Wakelet just so that I think I have 7 or 8 in there now. And earlier this week, a friend finally talked me into buying the Oculus Quest 2. So
Oh.
now I'm also exploring VR and virtual meeting rooms for this. I'm not much of a gamer. I guess I will be probably with this thing, but really I'm interested in engaging teachers and other learners. So hanging out in Microsoft owns this too, AltSpace VR. I'm just learning. So I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I've bought it and I'm committed to having fun in that space and helping others have fun in that space too.
I've been following my friend Alfonso Mendoza. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's been leading the way with a lot of VR tools, and I think he has the Oculus Quest as well. Very, very fun. Becky, over to you. What are you involved with? Tell us a little bit more about some of your other work right now.
Well, one of the things I am doing right now that is something I look forward to very much is I am kind of co-advising a girls gaming and empowerment club in Bronx, New York. So shout out to District 12 PS 196 and my Lotus girls. I have the amazing privilege of working with the staff at the school as well as the 10 to 12 4th and 5th grade in the US 10-year-old girls who join every week from my home here in the Seattle area. And we are using Minecraft to create visions, to understand confidence and empowerment, and to share with each other and, create life pathways, to look at the examples of amazing other women who have, gone before and changed the world through the women's group. Good Trouble World, Malala and Emmeline, and a variety of things, Coding for Good, changing their community. And that runs weekly all the way till the end of May. And so for me, who has been out of the classroom for several years now, who is, a few steps removed from being on the ground in a school system, this type of work energizes me. It reminds me what it's like, just the tiniest taste of what it's like to be, working with kids day in and day out. It builds empathy, definitely, for the teachers who are doing that all day, every day. And it allows me to connect with, kids again and remember what that's like. And that really drives me, because when we're out a little bit, you kind of start to get this really ethereal, like, oh, this will be easy, you should go do that. But no, it's not. It's not easy, right? It took us like 3 first club meetings just to make sure every girl had Minecraft and had their device, and the teachers were home delivering what they needed, and the struggle is there. So for me, being a part of something that is on the ground, actually impacting kids directly is a really important piece of my day, because so much of what I do is indirect, like Kathi mentioned. And I love that. I love that it, my sphere of influence is wider because of it. But to stay connected with kids in a school has always been a priority for me. And so it's just absolutely been an amazing part of my week to be a part of that group.
Kathi and I were talking a little bit off air, right, Kathi, about just the need and the value of staying connected, as you said,
Mm-hmm.
Becky, and actually having some foot or some exposure in the classroom, just so that we're not too far removed. And as you said, we're not sort of calling down directives from an ivory tower. So I really love and respect that. And yeah, that definitely keeps you in touch. So a few moments ago, I just about died as something got caught in my throat, but I was trying to say hello to all of our viewers as we start to wrap up here. But thanks again to Nobler Tech Class on Twitter, Margaret Murray on LinkedIn, Helen on YouTube, Scott on Facebook, Mark on Twitter as well, and a few others who have been joining us. Thank you for your contributions in the comments. This is your opportunity to say hello and let us know where you are coming from. So on that note, ladies, tell people where they can find you. Of course, the best place to get the book, I would assume, is Amazon, but let them know if they need to go somewhere else for that. And websites, projects, go ahead and let us know how we can connect. And also, I should say, let us know your Twitter address as well, because this will make its way onto the podcast, and those listeners can't see it, even though it shows up on screen. So, Becky, I'll go back to you. What are the best ways to follow you and connect with your learning?
Well, there you go. I just updated my on-screen. So I'm
moving.
Yeah, well, mine is so relatively simple, right? It's just my name. So BeckyKeene.com is a great place to start if you're wanting to get connected with me. It has links to our book, which, yes, is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Half Price Books, Walmart, wherever you buy books. It's probably available there. So, but BeckyKeene.com has links to my Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Clubhouse, LinkedIn, wherever I am. It also has a link to sign up for my newsletter. I do a monthly newsletter. Oh yeah, there it is. That is just kind of tips and tricks called Spectacular News. There's all sorts of content there. So that's kind of a great place to get started, to connect with me. But I'm very active on Twitter, is probably the other place to hit me up fastest.
All right. Well, I love that idea of one central website that connects to everything else. And Kathi, is it the same story for you?
It is. Yes, it's so nice. Finally, Becky turned me onto a great web designer. So yes, I have one too. It's Kerszi.com. So that's KERSZI.com. And I love my website. He did such a nice job. But also, just like Becky's on there, you can find links to buy the book on there. You can connect with me. There's a connect with me section. You can book me for workshops or speaking engagements and things like that. You can find out what I believe in and learn a little bit more about me. So, and all of the links to all of my accounts, just like Becky, my Twitter, my LinkedIn, my Wakelet, all of my things are right there on that website. Thanks for showing. Isn't it so pretty? I love it. My blog is connected there too. So he did a really nice job with that. And my Twitter handle is the same. So it's at Kerszi, KERSZI. And like Becky, I am crazy active on Twitter.
I am too. Well, I will be following you more closely going forward. It's so good to make these real-time synchronous video connections. I really, really enjoy it, and it gives me a better sense for who you are. I know if I have any Microsoft questions, I know who I can go to, ladies. And again, to our listeners, to our viewers, thank you so much for joining us today. Make sure you pick up a copy of Sail the Seven Seas. It's still a new book, right, Kathi? It's within that first year, so we can still call it a new book. And I am going to sign off. So thanks again for joining us. Continue that learning. And wherever you are, make sure you're sharing a word of encouragement for those colleagues. We are coming to the end of this year, but we've still got a good stretch to go. So let's finish strong and enjoy your weekend. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.